Welcome to Lawless Podcast with Justin and Clayton. As always, I'm Clayton. This is my buddy Justin. I've said it before and I meant it then, and it rings true today. You guys must have done something special. You must have eaten your veggies, you must have eaten your vitamins, said your prayers, because you're in for an extra special treat. Today, you don't just get the wisdom and guidance of Justin and myself. You also get T-Bone. We got a garbage boys in the house. There's a soundboard coming soon. Yeah, we have an extra special garbage boys today. It's always special to have garbage boys when Tpac's here, but it's going to be an extra special one. I'm going to let him take that away because I have a feeling once we get going in garbage boys, we're not going to be able to hit the brakes. So before we get there, I'm going to do just a little bit housekeeping notes. Just two things. One is the podcast email address. It's podcastlawless@gmail.com. It's going to be in the description. Maybe I can put it in a graphic scrolling across. I'm good on CapCut. I can do stuff like that. Yeah, I got those chops. Podcastlawless@gmail.com. We want to see a couple things. Let me be very specific about what we want to see.
Would you please clarify that?
Yeah. Before we get into what we want to see, I want to see some hunting and fishing videos or pictures. If you got some bass or racks you want to show off, send them in. I want to see if you got some badass cars or motorcycles, send that in. If you have questions, comments, concerns, maybe if you have life advice, maybe you have some relationship advice or whatever. I'm not saying we're qualified to give this, but that won't stop us. That's not going to slow us down.
Are we accepting new conspiracy theories of that email address?
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else with new.
Yeah.
I was going to say yes.
Oh, come on.
I mean,
Come on.
Yes, new conspiracies, definitely. I'm always open to new conspiracies. I like to say the conspiracies I like are the ones that come with like .gov receipts, like CIA.gov receipts.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite conspiracies. But I'm open to a Mothman. I'm open for.
I'm fine with the ones that end in TikTok or that you can find on TikTok.
Woo,
Yeah.
that's a bridge.
Both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, we're down there. Also, we're getting to the level. If you want to partner with us with sponsorship or advertising, use that email address, podcastlawless@gmail.com, to contact us. One of us will get back to you in a timely manner. Also, last housekeeping note before Tpac takes it away. We are freshly on all podcast platforms. We've traditionally been on the Meta, Instagram and Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube. That's always where I manually uploaded all of our stuff. But I recently figured out the RSS feed. It's this magic thing that I think is like 30-year-old technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, iHeartRadio. My wife listens on Amazon Prime. There's the Apple stuff. Like, heart, share, subscribe. Please go to that helps the algorithm. And we're proselytizing the word of lawless around these parts.
The gospel of lawless.
Okay. It's Lawless Podcast, extra special garbage boys. We got the housekeeping notes out of the way. Take it away, T-Bone.
All right. So as Clayton said, super excited today because we have a guest joining us. This is a guy that between the three of us, we've been enjoying his content on Instagram, some of us on TikTok, because we come from a background that's familiar with and speaks the language of modern evangelical worship. It's connected with us. He goes by original Sinfluencer across the social media platforms. And if you're in that space at all, I'm sure that you've probably seen his content, much like we have. Joshua Colburn, thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited, and we can't wait to get into it with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I'm stoked to be here.
So Can you tell me a little bit about little bit about your background? Where'd you grow up? How'd you end up in worship music? Like what's the path that got you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I'll give you my testimony.
There you go.
Yeah, so I grew up down in kind of a weird place called Carmel, California. Clint Eastwood was my mayor.
That's right.
Right next to Pebble Beach, the famous golf course. My stepdad was actually a caddy at Pebble Beach. And he would caddy for all like the celebrities and stuff. It was pretty cool. But I actually didn't grow up in the church. My parents weren't religious at all. I think my mom like got me a cross and told me I was baptized once, but when I was about 14 years old, I was asked to go to church. I got invited from a friend. And then a youth pastor named Jimbo invited me to a beach bonfire, and that was the night I accepted the Lord into my heart. And so, but the truth behind that, like that was like my testimony, right? But like the truth behind that was I was a pretty like aimless kid, came from a pretty fucked up home. And I didn't have really any supervision. And so and my folks, like my family, they weren't like the cookie cutter family, and they were into some stuff that like I kind of rebelled against, and that's what made me go into the church. And so I kind of rejected everything from my family, found myself in a cult. And then, it was funny because my mom would say for the longest time, like, this is just a phase. This is a phase. Well, I stayed in that phase for like 30 years. And finally, the other day, I was like, it was a phase, Mom. I'm out.
Yeah. Congratulations. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's tough.
I got to say, I ran a test this morning to see if your song, The Prodigal Son,
yeah,
if it still made me cry. 30 seconds in, dude. And I got tears coming. That is such a powerful song. Like,
thank you.
Every part of it is just
I've had that on
kills me.
I've had that on repeat in my car for the last 3 days. It's so good.
Oh, y'all, thank you so much. Because truly, like when I started doing the deconstruction thing or even writing these songs, I never thought there would be an audience for them. So I was just kind of writing them for myself because I was like, I had to find some way to deal with this shit that I went through. And the best way I know how is through music. And so truly the songs, I was like, no one's going to listen to these songs because they're not relatable to anybody. And then I got on TikTok and found a whole community of people that made my story not unique in any way. I was like, oh, everybody has this trauma.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that I think that kind of kept me back from deconstructing is this feeling of like, well, where am I going to belong? Because everything in my entire world is made up of not just Christianity, but our specific blend of Christianity.
Yeah.
And now that I've stepped out and mostly through social media, probably entirely through social media, finding people like you and others and realize and hearing songs that, that you've written. And it's like, holy shit, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And this is like what I'm feeling is kind of across the board, like kind of consistent. You know what I mean?
Pretty typical.
So I say that for anybody that's maybe considering and is afraid, well, where am I going to belong? There is community outside of religion.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. Like I said, when I first started posting videos, I didn't think it was going to do anything. My wife was encouraging me to do it. She's like, you should get on TikTok. I'm like, isn't that like a fucking dance app or something? Like, I'm not going to do, I am not the type of dude that does dances. Like,
Right.
and so, but I kind of observed for a year and I saw like there are other people out there sharing their journeys out of the church. And you're right. Like across the board, when I meet people, is one thing they say is that like when they find community in deconstruction, it's like, whoa, I'm so grateful I found this because you feel so on an island. Like you really feel alone. And I remember I was annoying about it too. Like I first, like a couple creators came across my feed and they had similar stories and I'm messaging them like, I really want to connect. And, now I'm on the other side of it of like, I've been doing the social media for so long and it's like, I was so naive back then. And so like, I felt like a pollywog in life, basically just going desperate for any connection over this stuff specifically because I'd spent so much time in my head about it.
Yeah.
Well, I bet there's a lot of people, like I know me and other people that I'm close with that have gone through similar journeys, that when they're going through the deconstruction process, oftentimes there's a season of at least depression. And like there's some gloomy days in there.
Sure.
And just like depression, I come from a community of law enforcement and military where PTSD is pretty big in there. And parallel with it, one of the most deadliest aspects of those conditions is isolation. And so when you find yourself alone and no one even cares, no one even wants to know how I feel right now, A, that's not true, but B, that's why this is so important. Like, I don't know how to say B, like it's important to know that other people have the same questions that you have. Other people have found themselves guessing, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to be without this?
Yeah.
There's that metaphor that I've heard. I first heard about it from Rhett and Link, but it's like being in a house that you find, you find that you no longer have room for, and you actually have to, you find yourself outside of that house. Like, what am I going to do? Like, where do I go? And there's lots of options from there. Like, you don't have to land anywhere.
Yeah.
But even in that, just to know, like, you can be unsure with someone else.
Yeah.
Like, we can all admit that we don't have it figured out.
Absolutely.
We all got questions.
I think the metaphor that Rhett used, if I remember correctly, Clayton, what didn't he say that you're told that you're in a room and you're told that room is the entirety of the house and there's nothing outside of it.
Right.
And then one day you step through the door and you find out, oh wow, there's actually hundreds and hundreds of rooms and they're all full of people and they're all full of people like me. Justin, you and I were talking about this the other day, how Christianity, particularly evangelical Christianity, is almost it's tailor-made to make you believe that you have no identity outside of that. And if you ever leave, you're going to be alone. You're barely going to exist, right? Because if you're not finding your identity in Christ, then you are nowhere and you are nothing.
Yep.
And when you learn that message from an early age, like Justin, like you and I did, that shit gets down in your bones deep. And
You were born.
It is hard to break out of that.
You were born worthy of hell. You came into the world that way.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day when we used to do Thursday night visitation. As a kid, I would tell grown adults that they were going to hell and that they didn't. That whatever their answer was, if I didn't know them, they weren't going to heaven. Right. But the whole concept of like somebody says they're happy, fulfilled, they live a loving, they're in loving relationships. I would say, well, no, you can't. That you're deceived. You cannot be happy and fulfilled in a loving relationship outside of evangelical Christianity.
Yeah.
Like the arrogance that's involved in that.
Totally.
This very specific way.
I remember thinking this way too, like with natural disasters. Like I think about this a lot. Like I would find myself, like anytime there was a natural disaster, and this is when I was a Christian, I would be like, how do these people survive this without God?
Yeah.
Like, like it's the arrogance of my belief system was so damaging to so many people, unbeknownst,
Yeah.
So Joshua, I want to say again how much I really enjoy your music, first of all, but
thank you.
But even the parody videos, right, where you're making these absolute fucking bangers of worship songs out of these bizarre verses.
Yeah, it's so fun.
But like you and your wife, you sound amazing together, like incredible harmonies. So I'm curious about like, what's your musical background? Like what at what age did you sort of get the itch to learn the guitar? When did you figure out you could sing? And like, who were some of the bands that you listened to like in your formative years?
Yeah, love this question. So I grew up, in a pretty affluent area, and so, but I wasn't wealthy, and so all of my friends had instruments. They all had, my best friend in high school, his dad was the VP for Intel computers. Like this is like the kind of people I grew up with, and so, but I'm just like this kind of like poor kid in Carmel. So they had everything they wanted. You know, they had music rooms full of all the nicest gear. And so, but my parents wouldn't buy me a guitar or anything. So I learned how to sing. And or I faked it. They're like, we need a singer, and all of them were too like chicken to sing. So I was like, I'll do it. The first day I showed up, we did Green Jello's Three Little Pigs. I don't know if y'all remember that song.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like in my when I first started writing music, I was about 13 years old, 12 years old, and I was heavily influenced by like Pearl Jam, Tool, Nirvana. And then from there, I kind of got into high school. And then this is my uncle was in a punk rock band called No Use for a Name for a while. And like, I loved No
I know
Use for a
them.
Name. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They were one of my favorite bands before I knew my uncle was in the band. Like, it was so cool.
Oh, wow.
And so I was heavily influenced by a lot of like the Fat Records bands. I grew up right near Santa Cruz. And so I kind of just immediately, like when I was a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school, got into the punk rock scene. And then I became a hardcore kid from like junior year till, I mean, I guess I'd still consider myself a hardcore kid. I just took my 15-year-old to see Turnstile. And it was so fucking fun. Like it was incredible. But yeah, so I grew up like heavily influenced by hardcore music and metal. But then there was also this side of me where I grew up riding horses on my grandparents' ranch. My grandma professionally rodeoed, and so like there's this like country side of me too that I did not let out for a long time. Like I was a closet Garth Brooks fan. Like,
hell yeah.
I could pretty much sing any Garth Brooks song by heart for you.
Blame it all on my roots.
So love Garth, but then because of that, I started getting into a lot of the alt country artists. Really love Elliott Smith, but yeah, so music, but I'm just kind of all over the place with what I like. And then I met my wife, and she listens to music that I never even heard of. You know, she's like super into neo soul. And so now she's been introducing me to all this neo soul stuff lately. It's been so cool. But yeah, that's kind of my journey. I started out in punk rock bands. And when I was in my 20s, I was in a punk rock band. We spent a lot of time touring all over and had some success in that. But then God called me away from that.
Amen.
As he does.
So I could go into ministry full time and really do some good work.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that you mentioned country music, because I do think there's kind of a synergy there between punk rock and country, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know I have the same predilections, right? I'll go from listening to Bad Religion, Gaslight Anthem, Against Me, bands like that, immediately to Jason Isbell, John Moreland, American Aquarium, right? I think they have sort of the same sensibilities, definitely lyrically, like they sing about the same social problems, they sing about the same type of people and the same type of heartbreak. One of them is just a little bit louder, right?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I do think there's particularly when I was younger, I really felt like there was a stigma against country music. Like if you liked country music, that meant you had to go sit over here with the cowboy kids.
Yep.
And if you, and never the twain shall meet, right? So it's cool to be sort of past the age where you kind of care about stuff like that and just, get to go to the shows that you want to go to, right?
Totally. I think, there was a mindset that I kept for a really long time, specifically around music, where I didn't want to identify with other genres of music. And now I don't care. As an old man, I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like I was listening to the new Taylor Swift album the other day because I wanted to hear what the production sounded like. I wanted to hear what everybody was shitting on it for. It is that bad.
Yeah. I should disclose, I am a hardcore Swiftie, but this was not her best work. She should
have dipped into that conversation a little lighter.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Clayton, you had something?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I couldn't wait. I grew up in Oklahoma until I was 13, and on our radio it was either the K Love or whatever version of K Love there was back then, or it was like Patsy Cline, Willie Nelson era country's music. I was born in the 80s, and my mom had me late in her life. So like that was her jam. Patsy Cline, old Johnny Cash, things like that. Um, well, I got in trouble as a kid and had to go to a church home in East Tennessee. And as soon as I went to East Tennessee, I had a chance to reinvent myself, and I was like, "Fuck country music, y'all! I never liked country music. Country music, I'm allergic to it." And meanwhile, going back to it as an adult, I'm like, "Hey, that was stupid." But B is fucking jamming music.
Yeah.
Especially that era of country was probably my favorite. The real outlaw country era.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me, Clayton, especially how much modern like country radio is just the antithesis of what country music began as, right?
And they're trying so hard. It's always a stretch, and that's what just makes it grosser. Like, oh man, you're trying to.
It's so inauthentic.
Yeah.
You could probably, Josh, clue us in on this from the inside, from the industry. Like, is it just because, like, why is the bullshit country music what's filling the radio dial? Is it just because Nashville says, hey, this is what you're going to listen to? This is where what brings the dollars? Or
real quick, J-Dub, you need to put the microphone just a little bit closer to your mouth.
Whenever you're talking, bro.
Sorry.
Strike one today.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it might just be guesses from me, but my guess would be that it's easy to manufacture, and the masses like. I mean, you listen to any fucking Jelly Roll song. Like, no offense if y'all like Jelly Roll, but if you listen to it, there's no heart behind any of it. It's all.
I feel like he changed it.
Yeah, totally. And so. I think that they get you there. There's no formula, but there is a formula, and so I don't know. I've always kind of been baffled myself by the country music where it went, because it just didn't seem natural in a way, because it was outlaw country. It was like
it seems like there's always a resurgence. Like 5 or so years ago is when you started hearing about like Zach Bryan, and you started hearing about like red dirt country. Like there was a resurgence, almost like a modern outlaw country.
Yeah.
Well, then Nashville immediately chased that sound.
Right.
And even those guys, to a degree, where it seems like they kind of got gobbled up in that Nashville scene. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure there's another version now, or I'm not in the know of the cutting edge, but it seems like they're always chasing the authentic.
Yeah, it seems like we're on the tail end of that kind of new wave of authentic country that came through, right? Sturgill Simpson, Jason Isbell, like all these artists, and we're kind of on the end of that. They're still milking this teat, basically. So it is kind of curious to see where it goes next. It seems like I've been following a few country artists, and it seems like it's kind of going this like darker type of country.
Fucking bummers.
Hell yeah.
Fucking hate them. I hate fucking bummers.
Clayton hates a bummer.
JW likes bummers.
Oh, I love a good bummer.
I only listen to sad music.
Yeah. Gross.
Fuck me up, dog.
Fucking gross.
Yeah.
Life doesn't make me feel enough. I need a good fucking song to wipe me out.
No.
I need it to hurt.
So
I'm all good on the pain, thank you.
You said something, and I know Travis. We've called Travis like 3 different names, by the way. He is Travis, T-Bone, Tpac, whatever you want, as long as it starts
too dyslexic to hold on to anybody's name, so
that's all right.
Fair.
Yeah,
fair. I know, Travis, you had mentioned this question, but I think that it falls in line here about the formula for country music, pop music, whatever, but the formula for worship music.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, dude, there was a time. Well, I don't know. There was a time, at least in my life, where it moved me. So maybe it was me that changed, not the music. But it seemed like there was a time where Christian music or worship music was from the heart, and now, like, you could literally, like, you do it on your TikToks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like there's a formula. You just pull these things together, and bam, you got a hit worship song.
Yeah, there was a series that I did back in the day when we first started doing this where Prez would surprise me with different things, and I'd have to immediately on the spot make a worship song out of it. So like she brought me like a package of gluten-free pasta, right? And the chorus was just like, great taste goes gluten-free, and it just, you felt it in your heart, but you're singing about
nonsense.
pasta, you know. But yeah, it definitely. I wish Prez could probably speak on this way better than I. But I mean, there is science behind the chord changes and all of that, and a lot of the worship leaders probably don't know the science, but they know the feel that they're going for.
They're emulating someone that knows the science.
Oh, totally. You know, and I think that worship music really got off track. I guess, off track. I don't know. I think that where it really started to get weird was when everybody started to try and sound like U2. Like and then Delirious came out, and then Coldplay happened, and then everybody tried to sound like Coldplay, and so like Christian music, worship music to me, even when I was a Christian. Now I'm gonna leave out a lot of the Tooth and Nail bands here because they're still close, very near.
Yeah, bro,
I
love Tooth and Nail.
I love some Tooth and Nail, dude.
We should talk some Tooth and Nail in a little bit. Sure. But yeah, like it's basically, it's so recycled and so watered down that by the time you get to it, it really is. It's just like a piece of shit. Like it is like so copied and copied and copied. And then you fill it with just people who are bad people doing bad things in the music industry. Michael Tate, you know, I mean, it's like, it's awful. So I don't know. The Christian music industry is gross.
It was interesting that you kind of talked about how you sort of draw these comparisons between the whatever the worship band is and whatever the popular secular band is at the time, right? So it's U2 to Delirious, right? And then Coldplay to like everybody else. And I remember it feels like there's a shift whenever somebody just does something different. So like when Hillsong came out with their Zion's record back in 2013, my church, the band at my church played that incessantly. And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh shit, this is good. Like this is different, because they were using synths differently than what they had been doing before. And they just made you feel something that maybe you stopped feeling with those other bands. So I do think it tends to just be really kind of a physical reaction. Like I feel the same way when I go to a good show at at whatever arena or whatever club, and it doesn't matter what they're singing about. That's the same thing that I felt when I was at church, right?
Yep.
And it really does feel like it's more physiological than anything else.
Totally. You know, it's really eye-opening. There was a time where I was a part of a build where we were installing like a multi-million-dollar sound system in the church building. And we were meeting with this company, and their job was to go around to all big mega churches and do their sound system. And I remember when we were first kind of talking to this guy, he was saying, you know, we want every single person in this building to have the same sonic experience. This is the language he's using. It's the same sonic experience in every seat. And so what they did to achieve that was they lined the bottom of the stage with 7 fucking subwoofers. And then, you know, the array, we're talking a multi-million-dollar sound system that is designed to produce the biggest impact sonically on your body.
Yeah.
And that is what pushes people into, you know, these fanatic moments of worship and lifting your hands. You get wrapped up. I was fully wrapped up in it the other night. I don't go to shows and like dance around, but I went and saw Turnstile with my kids, and we were just like, it was the best time. We're jumping up and down. I had a complete worship experience. The chills, the feeling, the elation, all of that, while someone's up on stage going, let's fucking go, you know? And so it's like, you can have these experiences. You don't need the church. But the church tricks you into thinking you need that experience in that building from this manufactured Holy Spirit thing, you know?
Well, and there's even levels to that too, because like if you've heard, especially like I love Ram Dass, like especially like during my deconstruction days, Ram Dass was there when I needed something. Ram Dass. So he talks about going around following the Grateful Dead back in the 70s. And they were all traveling together, taking acid together. Yep. And so they had, and even during the concerts, there was like a group of spinners, and that's still at the shows where there's, you know, people who just spin around in circles.
Yep.
Yeah. So with the physiological, like just the music and the science behind the music, add on the community, add on the guilt layers, and add on the social engineering in there, and you can absolutely induce a spiritual experience.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
for
and it's,
sure.
you come from like even some of the more charismatic backgrounds. Like I grew up Pentecostal. These were two lame old Baptist boys. We grew up with
Independent, fundamental, Bible believing Baptist.
That's right.
That's right.
Put some respect on that
Back on
cult.
the name.
Clayton.
That's right. My cult was a different flavored. Your guys was mint. Mine was chocolate. But with the Pentecostal, like we weren't the snake handling Pentecostals, but we weren't far off.
Yeah.
Like we did all the speaking in tongues, which, I still don't like to disrespect. I think there's something there to it. But whatever. We were crazies too. We were the crazies in the church community. So add on that social engineering layer to it too. You can absolutely, like a good praise and worship minister, can manipulate a crowd. Like
Yeah.
that's their job. Is
Yeah,
to
totally.
manipulate a crowd.
Yeah, and that's something that I've had to reconcile, after doing, basically, I refer to myself now as the lead manipulator of the church in a lot of ways, being up in front. I will say this, it felt really fucking real.
Yeah.
It felt like I was doing something important. And it wasn't until the voices that were in my head from the people around me started to question those things, that it all started to feel really gross. And that's kind of what led me to the precipice of me leaving, was all of that just nonsense kind of, I guess, I've always been a bit of a late bloomer in life, I feel like finally it caught up to me and I started actually being able to critically think about a lot of this stuff. And then I just felt gross. I started feeling gross and hating what I was doing, because it felt performative. It felt manipulative. The things that I had told myself, we use lights and we use projectors and we use smoke machines, and it all cost over $1 million. But we're changing lives. And so for me, I was always a big part, the human aspect of working at church was always a beautiful thing. I have had a great love for the church for the longest time, because I truly believed that the church didn't look like it was supposed to, but could usher in change in people's lives,
Sure.
And that's kind of where I laid my hat for a long time, is that even if we're doing it a little bit wrong, we're still doing good. And then, it took me analyzing that and going oh, we're not doing good. We are actually harming people. We are harming the LGBTQIA community. We are tricking people into thinking that this is a safe place, but then they're sitting here weekly getting bashed over the head going, I'm not fucking good enough. I am made imperfect. And so it really just, it fucked with me so much that I had to go.
That's one of the big tricks I was talking about with a friend the other day, that the whole thing of everybody's welcome, come as you are.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get here, it's okay, now you got to change.
Yeah, now change
Now
everything
immediately
about
change
Glad you're
everything
here.
about you.
Right.
Oh, it's such dangerous language. It is, and it's the thing that the church that I was a part of sold always, and so it was we're a safe place for the LGBTQIA community. You can come here, explore your relationship with God, get to know God without all the dogma, without all the bullshit. But then all the bullshit existed, right? Because when they wanted to marry their partner, their pastor couldn't marry them. Or when they wanted to serve in a specific leadership role in the church, an upfront leadership role, nope, sorry. So it's it did so much harm to so many people.
Even at the recent churches that I've been to, I mean, they wouldn't have gone, unfortunately, they wouldn't have gone past the get to know you classes. You have to go through those get to know you classes to do anything. Yeah. And I'm always interested in volunteering in a soup kitchen or volunteering in the clothes pantry, something like that. But then when you find out you got to go through their indoctrination class, you're oh man, I'd rather just sing praise and worship and come whenever I want to. I don't.
It's gross how they do that. I remember being on a missions trip, and we would bring like supplies for people, right, who are in need, who are hungry. And the only way they could get those supplies is if they sat there and watched some stupid fucking skit that we put on. You know what I mean?
Did you do the mime stuff? Did you do the mimes?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I did the mimes.
Yes.
The Lifehouse, the Lifehouse one. Yeah.
It's so funny you said that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny you say that, Joshua, because I was just thinking about, that was one of the experiences for me where I started to realize that maybe some of what we were doing was a little bit toxic, or at least not as helpful as we think it is, right? Because I went on a trip to Nicaragua with our youth group as an adult sponsor. Two of my kids went with me. We raised the money. It cost like $4,000 for all of us to go. And so, we spent months asking people for money, people gifting us very kindly, right? They gave us this money because they wanted us to go do this thing. And we went to this village and we played games with the kids, and everybody posed for social media pictures, right? Everybody wants to take a picture with the little brown kids.
Yep.
And we built I don't even know what it was. I think it was a house, right? Very basic, right? But we built this house in this village for these people who didn't have a house, and we left feeling really great about ourselves, like we had done something super fantastic. And I started reading about people who were saying, probably what you should have done is sent that money to that village so that those people could have done that work, right? And that money then gets into their economy. But instead, we flew in like a bunch of white saviors who were the only hope for these people, when really what they probably could have used is just a little help in their local economy. Put somebody to work, let them do with it what they need to do. But we just dictated the whole experience like it was like we were visiting a zoo or something.
You're curating poverty tourism.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the purpose of that wasn't to save those brown people and turn them to Christians. The purpose of that was to indoctrinate you on how to do those missions.
Right.
And how they're molding you to be the next leadership, blah, 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 for the cult.
Yeah. And every night of that trip, we had a little, a little devotional break, recap of the day. Mm-hmm. And everything that we did every day was meant to build up to this experience at the end of the week where you reflect on it, and it's supposed to change your life. And then you bring that back to the States, and then you're on fire for the Lord.
Yep.
And then you bring it to your school, and then you invite those kids, right? And next year we're going to take a bigger trip. And the year after that, we're going to take 2 trips. And it's all just, it's just like incestuous, just building on itself for no real purpose other than just the glorification of that community.
Yeah, and on top of that, churches, I know at least because I was a part of mega church, like that was the big missions in mega churches are viewed like they're, if you go inside, the insider view is it's marketing. It is marketing for your church. It is the biggest marketing budget a church has is their missions budget, because that's why they're
always in the missions drive.
Totally. That's why they send camera crews, right? They want all those pictures so they can come back to the church and go, look what we've done. Yeah. Look at all the good work we're doing. Look at your money is going to a great place. And the truth is, like, they spent probably $10,000 on this trip, to get everybody there, maybe a little bit more. But like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars coming into these churches every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy to think that the smallest portion of that is going to the missions work. I remember this one time, like just thinking, I haven't thought about this in a long time, but we had when Hurricane Katrina happened, our church, like there's a company that was going around like, hey, we offer like a missions experience for you to help those in need for Hurricane Katrina. So what we're going to do is you're going to pay this crazy amount of money, and we're in California, right? And we're going to ship you all of the fucking supplies to build a house. And then you're going to build that house in your church parking lot. So it's fully up, everything. Everybody in the church is going to go sign the walls and everything. Then we're going to tear it down, and then we're going to fucking ship it off. Like, how much money was lost in shipping this, for all of us to feel good about ourselves, when truly there was a need that was happening in real time in that moment. We were delaying it by weeks, building it in our fucking church parking lot.
Well, that was just a Boy Scouts popcorn version of a fundraiser that your
Totally.
church happened to do.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Totally. It's all
So,
marketing.
So Joshua, I'm curious. So you kind of talked a little bit about your journey to Christianity. Was it sort of a natural transition for you to kind of become part of the, you said you went to a mega church. I sort of I kind of think about like the worship industrial complex, right? Like, uh, was that sort of a natural transition for you? Was that something you aspired to when you started going to church, or was it like, I know how to sing and I can play the guitar. This seems like an area that I can sort of seamlessly fit into.
Yeah, I mean, it was wrapped into a lot. So like within the first 3 weeks of me going to church, I was asked to get up on stage and start like playing in the worship band because they knew I could play and sing.
Yeah.
And so, and the worship person that was there before me had left. So like I literally was thrown up in front of a group of people. I had never experienced anything in church. I didn't know what worship really was. I sang a Tool song. There was like a song off of Opiate, I think, or it's like the EP, and the words are like, Jesus Christ, why don't you come save my life now? And it's totally a mockery.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to use this and we're going to sing it. But then there was always this fight in me because I was a hardcore kid, and I was like, I wasn't like a poser. I was like legit, like I was involved in the scene, and like, and then the worship stuff was always really nerdy to me. Like I didn't like it. I didn't really resonate with worship music all that much. So I would either write songs that felt good, or I would find it got easier later. Cause you're right. Hillsong started putting out bangers, and then even Elevation, right? Like some of the songs started to get a little more complex and a little more deep.
Yeah.
But I always did not like the fact that I was a worship pastor. Like I would kind of tell people for a long time there, when people asked me what I did, I'd be like, oh, I'm a musician. But then the follow-up question is always like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a worship pastor. And so like I never fully liked it. And I think I benefited from that because I think, had I really kind of liked the taste of it, I would have been trying to sell myself. I would have been putting albums out and all that stuff. But like I never really made a worship album because I never felt right about it. It never felt real to me.
Yeah.
And so it was always like a fight between me and worship music.
Yeah.
And now that I'm out, I can just make fun of it.
Yeah. I've always had sort of a complex relationship with worship music, especially as probably the last 10 years of the time I would call myself a Christian. We were involved in sort of non-denominational, not mega churches, but 500 people in the suburbs, and we were full every Sunday, and we had enough money that we had a decent sound system, but I was still earnest enough about my faith that I really wanted to be a part of the process of creating worship collectively as a community, right? And so my struggle was I wasn't good enough. Like I played a little bit of guitar, and I learned how to play the bass, and I knew that I could play the songs, but I'm not going to play them as well as somebody that our worship leader knows, who he's going to pay $150 to come play on Sunday, right?
Right.
And so that was something I really butted heads with him over for a while, until I just gave up, because eventually I'm like, he's never going to let me. I'm never going to be good enough for this guy. But to me, even at that point in time, it still felt like worship was something that we could create together, right? As an act of worship. And it doesn't matter if you can play the guitar like Slash or whatever.
Yep.
Like you don't have to be that good to play these songs. They're like 4 chords.
Yep.
So, was that ever something that you experienced? Like just sort of like, just it felt so commercial. Like this is just a product that we're using to get people in the door, and not really something that we're being sincere about in terms of creating something beautiful together.
Yeah, I might be just unique to my experience with this, but I had my model changed by the senior pastor. And so I was really big on you would come into the community for worship. Like I was the lead worshiper and I would have, my volunteers or whatever. Um, but I had a really small volunteer team for the size of church that we had because I like to keep my musicians small because one, we all got along really well and we had all been working for years and years and years. And then the senior pastor came in and was like, we need to open this up for more people to get involved. We went a different way with it in an odd way. Like the senior pastor of my church was like super horny for Willow Creek. Like he had such a boner for Willow Creek all the time. If you don't know what Willow Creek is, it's a mega church in Chicago, and it's massive. But they do the whole we do like a Blink 182 song, and then the pastor gets up and he's like, "Let's talk about all the small things God does." Like
is that Bill Hybels?
Yeah, Bill
Church?
Hybels. Yep.
Okay.
And so. And my senior pastor actually came from Willow Creek. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, okay, we're going to hold worship auditions. But let's do it like American Idol style, where like we have judges. And so we fucking did it. And it was the most disheartening thing. I remember sitting there going like, yeah, you really have a great heart for the Lord, but you kind of have to sing on key to be in the group. But there wasn't a space for development for other worshipers because we were so big, right? Like there wasn't. And so where for me there was a space. Like I was able to take advantage of a path that was kind of being carved out for me. But then, I was also in worship when it wasn't cool. Like I was kind of, and then it became this cool thing to be a part of. Yeah. But it was always hard because there's a lot of good people who have really, really like beautiful hearts. They're in it for all of the right reasons, except for the fact that they couldn't execute on the level that we needed them to execute. Yeah. But ultimately that means that place wasn't for them, and that's sad. So I don't know. Yeah. The church politics are so gross. And then you get worship leaders or people on the worship team who are resenting other people who got on and that didn't, because they didn't get on and all that stuff. It's fucking.
Yeah, it is.
Starting to get hot flashes here from all the trauma surrounding that.
Well, so we can leave some of that trauma in the rearview mirror here because I'm curious now. Sort of being in a post-Christian place, what's your spirituality look like now? Is this, would you consider yourself a seeker? Do you how do you water that garden now?
Yeah. Love it. Love this question so much. I when I first left the church and then, following that, deconstructed a lot of my hell doctrine kind of went out the window.
Amen. That was the first thing to go for me.
Yeah, first thing for me, and I'm glad too. It was one of the most powerful things to let go. And so I'm sorry, my brain glitches out sometimes. Can you get me the question again?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. So I'm interested in your journey post Christianity as it relates to spirituality.
Yeah. So I rejected everything. I was calling myself an atheist. I was, none of this is real. We live in a simulation. All this stuff, probably do, but
that's still a possibility. Yeah. I'm open to that.
But then, honestly, I did a mushroom trip and it changed my life and like in a profound way. I tripped off mushrooms in a kind of a ceremony way, and it made me come back on, I think there's a lot more to this than I originally thought. What it is, I don't know. But the thing I do feel very strongly about my beliefs, and I spent so much time knowing what I believed professionally, that I love the fact that I don't fully know what I fucking believe anymore. Like it is one of the most freeing things for me. But I do believe this. I do believe right now for me that there probably is something that created this. Does that creator want to be known? I don't think so. I don't think that's the point, and I think oftentimes in Christianity, it's all about wanting to be known by the creator and wanting to know the creator. And in that process, major life is skipped out on, right? Like you're not loving your neighbor because you're focused on this deity. And so like, I don't know, I think I eliminated that part in my life of like, I don't think this God really wants to know me like we all claim. And I don't really think he wants to be known by me in the way that I've learned. So I'm just going to try and be a good human to people, you know, and weird shit's going to happen along the way, and I'll kind of chase those. I'm not afraid to chase anything anymore, you know, like the freeing my mind and being able to explore things to the depth I can is so cool. It's so fun.
So I want to throw something out here. And for anybody who doesn't get the reference, this is probably going to come across as kind of crass, but your smoking hot wife.
Oh yeah.
She, like, were you guys, did you go through it together? Was she like, was she in front of you or behind, or where does she?
Yeah, so we got to go through it together, but we weren't a couple at the time. So we were dating, and then we got married. But we kind of went through our deconstruction at the same time, and then kind of fell in love through that during that time. Not because of our deconstruction, we fell in love, but you know that was a very much a relatable topic for us.
It's a shared experience.
Yeah, for sure. And so I feel very fortunate in a lot of ways that I did get to go through it with someone, and have just a sounding board to go like, I'm not crazy, right? Like I'm not, this isn't too much, is it? And so, yeah, we started with doing a lot of creative projects together. Our first creative project we ever did, I don't know if I'm even allowed to tell this because I signed an NDA, but I think it's worth telling. So if I get whatever.
There's only like 12 people that watch this.
If those sponsors come through, we can help out with the
yeah, there you go. Come on. Who's your dream sponsor? But
Mars Hill Church.
Yeah.
Mars Hill, drop me a line, baby.
Oh, just Mark Driscoll.
Yeah.
Mark Driscoll. That's right.
Sponsor our podcast.
I want the Titan himself. The vampire.
Sorry. No, I lost track. Where was I going? Let's see. This is my brain is so fucked these days.
You were talking about you and your wife got to act as a sounding board to each other as you go through the deconstruction.
Yeah. So just and then we started doing like the parody stuff, you know, and that was in itself, that came from the whole Tristan and Sage thing was born out of, I was like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we led like a secular song but like a worship song? And so we did One Direction's The Story of My Life. And we were like, lift your hands. And then there was always this Bible verse, this verse in Deuteronomy, when two men are fighting and the wife of one of them goes to rescue her husband from her assailant. She reaches out and seizes him by his private parts. You should cut off her hand and show her no pity. I mean, right? Yeah. And so this verse was always like one of my favorite verses. You know? Like even when I was a Christian, I thought it was fucking hilarious. Like I would write it on the comment cards at the church all the time and drop it in the offering basket. And so we like literally one take just was like Prez did like an intro and then Tristan and Sage were born, and that video just took off, and it was like, whoa, that's cool. And then we did another one, and then that took off, and we were like, but then we were finding like it's really healing for us. It's allowing us to face worship music. It's allowing us to face these things that I was like, I thought this whole thing I'd spent my whole life doing and doing well was just gone, right? Like but now I can fuck around with it and make funny worship songs.
You can fill that God-shaped hole, brother.
We all have a God-shaped hole that needs filling. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's fun to find the healing in us, fun to find the and then to have that confirmed by other people, you know, thousands of comments and people messaging us going like, hey, this is healing for me. Like this is allowing me to face worship music. And we're like, whoa, this is weird. We were fucking around with this. And then, kind of took off.
You know, as cliche as like laughter being the best medicine, as cliche as that sounds, there's really a lot of truth to that. Like, because when I watch a video of Tristan and Sage and they're, singing about horse emissions and like you laugh at that, but it also, it lets you acknowledge the absurdity of this thing that you went through and that you survived. You came out the other side of it, but you spent, if you were, if your church was anything like mine, there were so many things that were just sacred that you could not joke about. You couldn't question, you couldn't point out the obvious absurdity or the obvious violence inherent in these beliefs, right? Those were sacred cows, ironically, right? Because we didn't believe Hindus were all going to hell, but
Yep.
those were sacred things that couldn't be touched. And so just having the experience of seeing somebody else saying, do you guys see how fucking dumb this is?
Right.
Like, and laughing about it, like that heals something deeply inside, I think, a lot of people who have come out the other side of the evangelical ringer.
Yeah, it's cool. And like I said, it's healing for us. Like we do find healing, and we think it's just funny. Like it makes us laugh. We'll stop
really
doing
is.
it. We'll stop doing it when it's not funny to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you like? What do you do? What's your day job?
So getting out of the church, Prez and I, my wife and I, my smoking hot wife and I,
Yeah.
we both lost our jobs when COVID hit. And so we have kids as well. So we have two boys, and we were watching them and their kind of interaction with teachers trying to figure out the Zoom thing. And there was just like, they were just sitting there staring at a screen all day. And so we started a program, Prez and I, just like a free program for the community called Recess for Parents, where kids would come and join a Zoom call with us for an hour. And we would just talk about music history. So we would talk about, we would pick a topic, like it would be like, the most badass female songwriter, or whatever. And we would stay on that. And it was so fun. But through that, parents started asking us, well, do you teach music lessons? Like, can we start paying you for this? And so we started doing music lessons. And then that kind of evolved into, now we run like an academy where we work with artists. And we do a lot of coaching. We help people kind of find their sound. We help struggling artists who are like having writer's block and all that. So we've kind of created our whole home we have 2 recording studios in our home, and we see about 60 people a week in our home. And it's been really cool. So we're still very much involved in community and, changing lives, but through music.
That's beautiful. I mean, so speaking of community, like, how do you, what are some other ways that you have found community after leaving what you were probably told for most of the time you were there, is the safety of that place, right? You stepped out and now you have to find it on your own.
Yeah, I think most of it's come through the internet. Like, I think a lot of my connections, my best friend in the whole world, we were touring together, did not even know each other, both trying to be really good Christian boys on Warped Tour together, witnessing to all the other bands. At the same time, we were on tour together. And then later, and he runs a podcast called Let's Get High and Read the Bible. And then later in life, like, him and I connected. And it was like, whoa, this is insane. So, and then now we talk every day, and so I always joke that like TikTok is like Tinder, but for friends, like, and so, but there is still that God-shaped hole, but there is that in-person community. Like, I've had a few instances where I've met with people from the deconstruction community, like IRL, and it hits different. It really does, like to just have that person in the room and go like, oh my God, we're both real. And we both escaped this cult. Like, let's just sit in this presence, So
it's like we had these questions that were real, and we were told we were crazy for having these questions, and we are bad for even critically thinking, for ourselves. And you get out, you're like, whoo, that was crazy, right? It's fucking nuts.
Totally. But we try and connect with other musicians in the area as well. But like, both Prez and I are so busy constantly. Like, we have a million hobbies. We're beekeepers. We are crystal miners. Like,
mountain bikers.
Like, yeah. And then the social media Prez runs her own page for her music, and I do all of like the producing for her music, and then she's super behind the scenes with the original Sinfluencer thing, but there isn't something that we have done that she has not had her hand in. So it's like so we have this kind of like ecosystem that we're creating between the two of us, and there's a world of a music academy that lives in there, and we do beekeeping and bee education, and just life is
awesome.
We try and fill it up with as much shit as possible.
Bees are pretty fucking wild.
Oh, it's so cool.
Like I don't even know the half of what they do, but just the concept of like what happens with the queen and when the queen dies and the workers and like the whole ecosystem. It's just like, it blows my mind.
It makes me feel sort of arrogant as a human, right? Because we think that we're like at the top of the sort of the taxonomy, but bees have an entire society. Like
communicate,
got like an economy in there. Like they know how to communicate. They have tasks. They could plans.
Tell time. Bees know how to tell time. It's wild.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Once we dove into it, it was funny. There's a phrase in the beekeeping world that like your first year is the most romantic, and every year following, the more you learn, the less good you are at being a beekeeper, and it's so true. Like So,
go ahead, Justin.
I'm gonna throw something out here. You had mentioned we mentioned Tooth and Nail.
That's what I was going to ask you.
There was a time we used to have a Christian bookstore. Now, just to give a little bit of background, the church that Travis and I went to, we were not allowed to listen to music that had a rock beat, even if it was Christian. So like the
Christian rock was an oxymoron.
Yeah.
I only fuck to the rock.
What are you going to tell me? There's Christian sex? Is literally what one of my camp counselors told me.
Turn it off! I'm going to fuck someone.
So we used to get for doing all of our for doing your daily devotion, you would turn stuff in. You would turn your work into the youth pastor. They would check it, and you would get reward. You would get these bucks for the Christian bookstore. I was the reason they stopped giving bucks and started handing out concordances, because I was using my bookstore bucks for bad things. But
cigarettes.
The way that I knew I wanted an album or a tape was if it was Tooth and Nail.
Yeah.
I didn't even care who it was because Tooth and Nail did not miss.
And then Solid State after Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, hell yeah. Solid State, BEC, like all of the different arms of Tooth and Nail just didn't miss.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience, or what's your what do you know about Tooth and Nail? What can you tell us?
So I have a great love for Tooth and Nail because in a lot of ways, when I was first becoming a Christian, I was 14 years old. And that is right around the time that Tooth and Nail, so this is like 1994. And so this is right around the time like MXPX was starting to blow up. And I was just showing my kid Strong Arm last night. Strong Arm is one of my favorite bands, and then to watch them go from Strong Arm to I think they went to Further Seems Forever.
Yep.
But anyways, the Tooth and Nail stuff, MXPX specifically, acted as a bridge between me and my friends who were not Christians and who were very much in the hardcore punk rock scene. There's a couple like The Focused. There's another band called Focal Point. All these hardcore bands that were on Tooth and Nail, Zao, they gave me a bridge of acceptance with my friends because that was what was able to make Christianity they could take that. They can handle this kind of Christianity. And so I fully immersed myself into Tooth and Nail records. Every album I was getting, I have a whole wall over here of Tooth and Nail 7-inches. I have a 90-pound wuss. I think it's a 9-inch or an 8-inch. It's tiny. It's so cool.
Yeah. Those $2.99 Tooth and Nail samplers were lifesavers for me as a poor kid, dude. Because you could go to the bookstore, and in Wichita it was called the Better Book Room. You could go in there with change that you found over the course of a few weeks in your car and walk out with 15 songs, and every one of them was going to be an absolute banger. And it would introduce me to all these bands that I now was going to start paying attention to. And you make these connections from one band to the next. Those were a lifeline for me as a kid.
Yeah, totally.
even still though, like I saw Zayo a couple weeks ago, and even still, some of those bands, they're still awesome. Like
Oh,
there's still, I love their music, despite I maybe no longer like it doesn't hit me the same way, but the
Right.
music is still.
oh yeah.
I think the thing that made Tooth and Nail so good was that they were good. Like the reason that they were accessible or acceptable to your friends who didn't listen to Christian music was because these guys like they were good bands.
Oh, totally. You had bands like Blenderhead and Roadside Monument, which were
Yeah.
like legit, like indie, like emo bands, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and post-punk bands. But it's sad. I was, like I said, I was showing my kid some hardcore songs yesterday. I was listening to Strong Arm. They only have like 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. It's wild. And they're so fucking good. Like so talented.
Yeah,
But
MXPX was an early entry point for punk music to me because they were probably they were the first punk band that I ever heard, and it was because they were Christian enough that I could listen to them, and and it wasn't going to raise too much suspicion because my mom wasn't she's not gonna open it up and read the lyrics or anything like that. But I told her, if you buy it at the Christian bookstore, it must be okay. But they were the springboard for me for everything in the world of punk music, and I still love that band, and they still sound amazing.
truly.
I got to see them a few years ago, and they put on one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was they're incredible.
It was wild for me growing up and worshiping this band, and then when I was in my early 1920s, finding myself on tour with them, and meeting all my heroes. So cool. I remember though one time I was obsessed with the band Slick Shoes, and they jumped on the tour that we were on for a few days, and I saw one of the guitar players or someone in the band smoking weed, back at the buses, and I remember my heart broke. Or it was like, oh, they're going to hell. Like they what? They can't be a Christian.
Justin, you probably know the story I'm thinking of right now as he said that. You remember when we saw King's X?
Oh yeah, he swore on stage.
Oh no!
Yeah, Doug Pinnick, bass player for King's X, which was, considered sort of one of the they were secular, but they were Christians, and so they were acceptable within the Christian alternative community. And they came and played a radio concert for one of the rock stations in town, and I remember. I literally felt like I'd been punched in the stomach when I heard Doug Pinnick say "fuck" on stage.
Yeah.
The room started spinning, everything started to go black around the edges. How can this
we
be
need
happening?
To go now.
It literally feels like you got punched.
Yeah, it did. It took the wind out of me. Yeah.
I remember this is a sentence I've never said out loud, but I was really depressed because I saw the guitar player of Slick Shoes smoke a joint. It really fucked me up for a few days.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable saying the bands that you toured with?
Yeah, we did. Well, I mean, we did a lot of touring, so it's.
I'm sorry, like the bands you were in. That was.
Oh yeah. I was in a band called. Our name was terrible, and we were called 11 Teen. But we were right in the 2000 to 2004. And it's interesting. We got in a lawsuit with our record label, and we don't have any music out anywhere except bootleg copies on YouTube and stuff. And so we finally just won the rights for the masters back. And so I don't know. They're smarter than me. They're going to be doing it and posting all of it. So, but yeah, we were called 11 Teen, and we were a local band that was kind of starting to make it, and then God called me away.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I had to heed the call.
Yeah, when I was trying to do a little homework before this podcast. So when I got your press kit, I looked up 11 Teen on Spotify. There is a band out there, but they appear to be some sort of older butt rock. It definitely didn't.
I got to stop fucking telling people I was in that band.
Yeah. You might want to be careful about that because there is an 11 Teen out there on Spotify right now.
The funny thing is Eve 6. You remember that band?
Oh, yeah.
They were actually originally called 11 Teen, and then they changed their
kidding.
name to Eve 6.
That's funny.
Joshua, I had a question because I think your experience was different than ours. J-Dub and T-Bone and we come from the Midwest and the real Midwest, I don't know, the West. and come from like real conservative backgrounds. And so like our religion was very much, at least in my experience, and I think Justin's too, and even Tpac's, our religion was very much a part of our identity, but was like simultaneous, was part of our political identity too.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking and saying very confidently and very arrogantly, like, I don't see how Christian or how Democrats can call themselves Christians
Yeah.
because Democrats believe in abortion.
Can't be a Christian if
You
you're a
can't
Democrat.
believe in abortion and be a Christian, so you can't
Right.
be a Democrat and be a Christian. Like, I'm so embarrassed to say that now. Like it makes me embarrassed. But that was something that I believed. You coming from the West, I don't think had the same political foundation that we did, or
Yeah.
it might have been different at least. Was politics a part of your religious identity? And if it was how did that feel like in deconstruction and post deconstruction?
Yeah, wow, that's a really good question. Um, it did not. So one of the benefits of being in the West out on the coast is there are a lot of churches out here. In fact, like me looking alternative or whatever was a selling point for my church because they could use me and go like, look, like
I was gonna say my church would have said you're not a Christian just based on your appearance.
right. And so
Right.
these are the churches that I was a part of were like the hip kind of trendy, like cool church, the come as you are churches, you know, and they wanted a guy like me on stage because it showed the congregation like, hey, we're not like all those other churches. And I was, you know, looking back on it now, it's definitely tokenized. Like I was a token piece for them to kind of bring out every once in a while. But the politics did not, like I always kind of battled the politics, and all the other pastors I worked with, we all were Democrats. I have never voted Republican in my life.
Man.
And so the abortion thing is an interesting one though, because for me, younger years, like early 20s, that was actually another odd bridge into like hardcore punk rock for me because, you know, we were, all of us were vegan straight edge, right? So we were all vegans, we were all straight edge kids. And for me, I could take it a step further and go, hey, but babies, right? So that was kind of my thing. To own. And I remember there was a Tooth and Nail band, No Innocent Victim. They were from San Diego, and they would tour all up and down. They would tour with these pamphlets of like the abortion is murder pamphlets and stuff, you know. And so I kind of like owned that part of it, but it never got super political for me. I never felt smart enough to
You're fortunate then.
to be in yeah, I agree. Yeah. But then once Donald Trump started running his first, that's where it really started getting political. And that's right about the time that I left the church as well. I can no longer authentically like call myself a good human by being a part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I didn't get the dose of politics that y'all got and everybody dealt with. But that said, I've spent the last 6 years catching up. Like I truly have, like learning about it and seeing where the influence came from.
So
Well,
would you?
Oh,
Go ahead,
I
Clayton.
was just gonna say one of the parts that I've enjoyed the most, and one of the parts that's been, you know, if I were to use sappy language that has been beautiful about deconstruction is um just opening myself up to acceptance about things that of course it was human nature to accept and love all people, but because I put myself in this very specific house where I had to cut out everyone else, I made that my identity to cut out everyone else.
Yep.
Even if I say I loved everyone, like, yeah, I love you, but you're not getting into heaven. Like, I'm not going to see you in the pearly gates.
Yep.
So one of my favorite parts about deconstruction is the gift of acceptance that I now get. And it's weird and it's kind of sad that it feels like that has to go against my political identity, because one of the things that's so scary about deconstruction, and we use it for theology, but in my experience, it included all kinds of things. Relationships, politics, self-identity, beliefs, foundational beliefs.
History.
History, man, my acceptance of history that I didn't want to accept because I thought America was a was a city on a shining hill. Now it's
Freudian
a
slip.
Freudian slip. Yeah. And just moving to acceptance, I think a really cool picture of this is one of the educators I like to listen to now is a guy named Bart Ehrman, Dr. Bart Ehrman. He has a podcast. I can't remember what his official title is, but he's a biblical like history theologian from University of North Carolina. But his podcast is misquoting Jesus. And one of the things that he made me hit to, like after deconstruction, was that like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they don't add up. I spent 40 years trying to make them add up and coming up with every apologetic, following the line of this Calvinist, that Pentecostal, this guy, to make it fit just right in my head, to where now, and like I say, I think it's beautiful because, like I said, now Christianity is a way to God, not the way to God, but that's a different thing. But I can read Matthew and not have to apologize for its differences with Mark and Luke. I can just get the story that Matthew, the author of Matthew, wanted to tell. His name wasn't Matthew. Wanted to tell about.
What?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Chad.
Yeah.
Matt and Chad.
That's too much. I gotta leave.
And historically, like in my faith, John was always this radical, different gospel. It was almost like a psychedelic gospel. And we had to make that fit too, because we didn't like that hippie version of Jesus. So we had to cut down the love and light stuff to make him more Matthew, Mark. And now I don't have to make it fit. I can just, the acceptance is there, I guess is I'm taking a very long way to get there. Post deconstruction, it opens up for the acceptance of everything that I had to block out in the past. Everything I had to pretend didn't exist.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to when Trump got elected the second time. I don't know if y'all remember, the Reverend Buddy got up and basically just preached the gospel to Trump, asking for mercy. Right? It was so powerful.
Yeah. Yep.
And
very criticized.
Right. And I found myself, for the first time since I had been out of Christianity, like going back to my Bible in a way that was, I'd say, probably healthy, because I opened it up and I started reading the words of Jesus. And it was like, honestly, like, this is going to sound cheesy, but it was like revisiting like an old lover. Like it was like, like going down memory lane with someone. But as I started to read and just see, like, where are these people saying that this message is not good, right? And it made me kind of fall in love with the teachings of Jesus again, but in a different way. It was like, it was so profound and powerful. And so now I'm able to look at that as how it is and draw from it and have that add to my human experience, learn from it, and then act accordingly in the love I show other people, right? Yeah. And so, but it's hard because for me, I had to completely reject Jesus. I had to be like, I fucking hate Jesus, and like an angsty teen, to find myself back and going like, oh no, I love, this is what my personal foundation, my core is built off of, these teachings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that kind of goes in the vein of the way you're saying.
Hell yeah, dude.
For sure. And I think, I think there's so much difference between Jesus, like the Jesus of the Bible, and what he gets turned into by the evangelical machine, right? Because, I think about the Bad Religion song, American Jesus. That is such a different character. And you can make American Jesus work with a MAGA ideology because it's nothing like the Jesus of the Bible, right? You just objectively, you can say that that's true. And so I think you may have already sort of answered this question, but one of the things that I was curious about was if there was a particular breaking point for you with Christianity. And I think I heard you say, at least timing wise, it sort of coincided with when Trump was elected back in 2016. Was that sort of a formative moment for you where you said, this is too much? Like, were you I'm assuming you were probably on the path, but is it fair to say that was a key event there?
Yeah, I mean, it was part of the stream. It was a part of the river that I was in. There was a lot that was going on, but I say this a lot. I think that the day that I got into Christianity, I was deconstructing Christianity because I was always already trying to find the loophole so my friends could be okay. Like that, and so I really got comfortable with deconstructing, and I really was curious about, things that were being taught and that weren't adding up, right? And so going and doing my own research, and I did a TikTok yesterday that was like, oftentimes when I would do this, I was hit with that scripture, lean not on your own understanding, which is so fucking gaslighting,
Dude,
right?
So
Like,
stupid.
Just got hit with that.
Yeah,
this understanding that you gave me when you created me.
yeah, right, exactly. So
The I win button.
so from the beginning, I was kind of always deconstructing, but towards the end, I had found myself in a position where I was in a marriage that was not, it was built off of my 20-year-old belief system. I did the whole save myself for marriage thing. I was a good Christian boy.
Good boy.
And so when I kind of got to, it was 20 years of being at the church, in the same church. When I got to this 20 years, things in my relationship were not going well. My view of the church, I didn't even really believe in what I was doing anymore. And it just was time. And so after I got out of the church and stopped working in ministry and kind of made that decision to not go back to ministry, I was still very much hanging on to, the last thing I had was my relationship with the Holy Spirit. Because my relationship with God, that was really easy to reconcile in a way of just like, I never really, me and God never really jived, but like me and Jesus were cool, but me and the Holy Spirit, oh, that's because what I had been being sold my whole life in the church was that I had this special ability to tap into the Holy Spirit and then give that experience to others.
You had some Pentecostal powers.
Yeah. And so I was being told by people and prophesied over by people all the time that God was doing this great work in me. And then when I found out that this was after I got out of the church, I found out that I'm super neurodivergent, like very dyslexic, very ADHD. And the positive sides that come with that, the pattern recognition, the ability to read a room, the ability to connect and kind of feel an environment, those were being told to me that was the Holy Spirit. And if I were to leave the church, that those things are gone. Right. And so even for me, like I literally thought I was going to lose my voice when I left the church, to the point where I looked at Prez and I said, I'm never playing music again. I will never pick up my guitar again. And then luckily, in another story, but she basically put that guitar back in my hand and was like, no, you've got a lot of shit to say. But yeah, it fucks with you so much. So it was my relationship with the Holy Spirit that was really kind of the last to go. And that was the scariest for me because that was my identity. I had this, I didn't know scripture, couldn't recite scripture off the top of my head like everybody else could, but man, I could usher you into the presence of the Holy Spirit. So, and that was scary to lose, really scary to lose.
Yeah.
But it didn't go away. It's still here.
Yeah. I'm about to say, it didn't have to leave.
Yeah.
Here's kind of the thing that I'm on all this, past couple of years is that it didn't leave because it's you.
Yeah.
It's you. And that sounds so, like, I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people.
It's not really the shallow, the normal Christian would say, oh, he's leaning on his own understandings, or, he thinks he's God. Listen to him. He thinks he's God.
Yeah, I do actually.
I kind of do.
But it's so much deeper than that. Like, no, I'm saying you're God too. And we're all God. Yeah. And God's not my co-pilot. God's the pilot, the plane, the air.
Yeah. You know, my grandfather in the last month just passed away, sadly, and he was one of the greatest men in my life, one of the only good men in my life, who kind of showed me what it was like to be a good man, you know, and one of the greatest gifts he gave with him leaving is he was on a path of like he wanted to know, he wanted to be spiritually enlightened, and he, you know, and so I found all these. So one of the greatest gifts he gave me and my family was that he left years and years and years of his writings on note cards of things that he
Nice.
discovered, and so he's
Oh
like still
wow.
speaking
It's
to us.
incredible.
But I'd say half of these cards are him coming to the revelation that he is God, that you are God, you know, and so it's so profound to read that and be on my journey as well, going like, whoa, like this man who I trust spent years and years of his life trying to figure this out. Ended his life, his life ended with him not knowing anything, but having this stuff to give us. Yeah, I don't know. It's so
Yeah.
That's
That's
No.
incredible.
beautiful.
so
So
cool.
one of the things that kind of scares me, I think, or bothers me, is that no matter how much I think I figured out, we figure out, when I die, it stops.
Yeah.
It ends with me. And
Yeah.
like that, from like an existential like perspective, it makes me sad that
Hmm.
that everything I figured out in the end, it goes nowhere. But what you're saying, like, I love that. I love that he
He left
wrote
a
that down.
legacy.
He left you clues to find out for yourself.
Yeah, totally. And it wasn't done in a way of like, hey, I figured it out. I got all the answers here for you. It was
Right.
here's what I figured out.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll help you.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
What a gift.
truly.
I found a note one time of my grandpa's, and like he had this old chest that had like a bunch of his old medals in it, like some of his military medals, and it had like old shell cartridges. He was a deputy also. He had this note on it that was in a Bible. I can tell like he wrote it. It seemed to me, at least I imagine, like he wrote it during a sermon, and he was said, I can't remember verbatim, but it's something to the effect of, "I'm incredibly depressed. Like I'm so
Mhm.
depressed, I don't know how to get out of it." And so my grandpa, who's a World War II vet, you know what I mean, helped build our church, was the superhero. If you listen to the stories of my family, was going through the same exact existential struggles and crises that I was going through.
Yeah.
Except, you know, he didn't have the education. It was just the universe, which is another pretty good name for God.
Yeah.
Didn't put him in the opportunity at that point to get to where I am,
Yep.
or you know where he is. It's not his fault. He wasn't dumber than me. He did the best he could in his circumstance
Yeah,
with what he
absolutely.
had.
Absolutely. And it's fun to learn too that, you know, I was always preparing for the afterlife, right? You know, like heaven and all that. And it's fun to go like, no, that's a distraction from the life I'm supposed to be living right here in this present moment.
That's
Like
right.
this is where we're supposed to be. And
Especially if you go through a couple seasons of hell or heaven in this life, and
yeah,
you find out like that's the real consequence of sin,
yeah,
of separation between you and God. You know, whatever that is, separation between you and what's supposed to be going on,
yeah.
is the hell that you'll experience right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I kind of look at it, and this isn't very formed. Again, this is just my own personal, but like I look at it as like this kind of path that is going, and I have the choice to jump in and take part and experience, you know, the human experience how I'm supposed to, or I could deviate off that path and do something mundane. You know, it
Right.
really is up to me to make that happiness, to make that, you know. I say that from a place of privilege, though. I
Sure.
should maybe throw the caveat of that. I don't have my country's not being constantly bombed, you know. So,
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
but yeah,
Uh, well, Joshua, I want to be sensitive to your time. Clayton, you had some current events maybe that you had teed up
Uh,
to talk about, but I want to do a time check here with Joshua if he's cool to hang out for another few
oh, I'm
minutes, or
good.
if
Yeah,
okay,
I'm good. My mornings are awesome. So,
okay.
well, I got three current events pulled up, and
uh-oh.
um, we can. I'll do the same thing we did last week. I'll give us all three, and we can talk. We can pick one to start. I got kind of a bummer.
I'm
The
in.
Trump administration failed to consider the harm in not supporting SNAP, federal judge says in ruling that demands funds by Friday as it happened. So the Trump administration's getting in trouble for the shutdown and for not keeping SNAP going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Option one. Option two. This isn't funny. Two girls injured.
I'll be
isn't
the
funny
judge
at all.
of that.
Now we're all giggling.
Two girls injured in fall from Ferris wheel at Louisiana fairground.
That's really not funny, Clayton.
It's ridiculous.
Unless you're an asshole or something.
Right.
They gotta be. It's
We're
okay,
all
'cause that
laughing
would
at
be-
you, laughing at
that-
that.
That
Yeah,
would be in
that's
the title.
Good cat. Yeah, let's make that very clear.
Just J-Dub,
To the families.
Do you remember at patrol meetings? I used to get in trouble for laughing at we would have like the after action report from the shifts or from the day before at Justin used to be my patrol sergeant. When we were at the sheriff's office. And at the beginning of the shift, Justin or another sergeant or a lieutenant would read over what happened in the day, the 24 hours since we had, or whatever, however many hours since we had been at shift. And sometimes there was like things that should not be funny. Like the victim was ran over and then stabbed and then beat and then set on fire. And I would be in the back, like kind of losing it because it was kind of funny.
I'm married to a woman who will laugh through a fucking funeral. Like she will giggle her whole way. If she finds something funny, you will not get her to stop laughing.
Okay. Option two girls fall from a Ferris wheel. It seems like they survived. We'll go over it whenever I read that. Yeah. Option three, amusement park ride in Saudi Arabia collapse and injures, not kills, injures more than 20 people.
Oof.
That's not funny either.
That's another one that can't be mined easily for humor.
Here's a question that I've got, and this doesn't mean we have to talk about it. Do you suppose that the carny, in terms of like the archetype, is it the same across the board? So does Saudi Arabia have their own version of carny, do you suppose?
Yes.
Oh,
are we sure about this? Is blowing my mind. Like,
right.
I have
never thought about this.
I know because I've seen a version of them in Bahrain.
I was going to say you spent some time in Bahrain, right, Clayton?
You know, with that email you gave out at the beginning of the episode, if you have a picture of a carny from another land,
Saudi Arabian carnies,
send it in.
Please
send it in. With that. Bless us in with that tithe and offering.
We need to know.
Yeah.
And in Bahrain is like just an island off the coast of Saudi Arabia. It's where all the Saudis go to do their sinning on Thursday. They get to go somewhere that's not under the eye of God, and convieniently, there's an island.
Is that not a Muslim country or not?
It is. It is. It's an oil royalty. Like no disrespect, but those families were funded off of 1950s oil.
Far enough away from Mecca though that they can still drink, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know, so the rule is, and like I said, it's no disrespect, but this is the rule, is that you, whatever is not done under the eye of Allah, uncertain and translations as it has been explained to me, no expert. What there can be things done under the eye of Allah. There's Christians versions of that. The Amish have Romspringer, you know, there's lots of excuses to go sinning. In Bahrain, they would go there. The Saudis folks would come over to Bahrain, and none of them did their own. Where I lived at, around the Navy base, the trashmen, the maids, the nannies, the people who worked in the store were not from Bahrain. They were from Pakistan or from the Philippines, or they were shipped in from somewhere else.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they have an imported workforce. All right, so where do we want to start?
Yeah, my vote is for story number one.
Trump admin.
Yeah, just because I cannot get my head around the politics of deciding we're gonna make you go hungry. This is how I've been thinking about it. So with the government shutdown and everything, the proposition from the Republicans seems to be, we're not going to feed you people unless the Democrats agree to let us take away your health care.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand how that's a message that gets anybody reelected, but I know that it will. You know,
Yeah.
it's been working. It seems like it's losing its luster a little bit now, right? Because once people
Definitely.
start getting hungry and missing paychecks, then they're going to start to think about how dedicated they really are to that ideology. But the people behind that ideology are fundamentally the same. They have not gotten worse. They are who they have always been. I think they're just emboldened now with what they think they can get away with.
Yeah.
But just the fundamental evil behind the decision to say, we're going to build a $300 million ballroom at the White House, and we're going to send $40 billion to Argentina because their president says nice things about us. But you poors, sorry, we got nothing for you.
Yeah.
And we're going to create a constitutional crisis in the middle of it.
Right. To ensure that you stay hungry.
Yeah.
We're going to use you as a pawn in this fucking ridiculous display of clownery. Yeah, it makes me so sick I can hardly say it.
It's getting a lot harder to defend. And, you know, like I said, my personal politics haven't changed. I think he as in Trump and his administration have, man, they violated their base. Like the people who voted for him, he's doing everything that he said he wasn't going to do, or at least not the version that he said he was going to, in some spectacular ways.
Yeah.
Like as a libertarian, I identify as very anti-war. Someone who's been involved in two of them, like personally. I am anti-war. And he ran on anti-war.
Yep.
Like that's what we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear the tough guy who's anti-war, who's smart. You know what I mean? You wanted to get that. That's not what we got,
Yeah.
dude.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, a second month? I think it was, or it might have been in February. He started a bombing campaign in Yemen.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, automatic betrayal. Now it's come to a point like that. He hasn't stopped assaulting his base, like violating his base. Now, whoever's listening to this, and like me, it's someone I know very well. Whoever's listening to this, you know someone who's being affected by Snap being shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Like family members and people who I love are being affected by this, and it's crazy the mental gymnastics that's still being used. That's still
1 in 5 Americans, they say, are on Snap.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is why it's lost its luster, is because now it's affecting normal people like us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we were okay with it when it affected, you know, the poors or the minorities or the whatever. But now all of a sudden, like, oh shit, like now we're in trouble or at risk of losing something. And all of a sudden your policies or your politics change once it affects you.
Yeah, big time. You know, when we start feeling the pain here in California, like that's kind of the litmus test for me, because we're pretty protected, you know, in a lot of ways, but we're in a very blue state, you know, and so when you start to see it come to your doorstep in some ways, it's like, okay, yeah, it is getting bad, really bad out there. It's truly awful. I know people through this whole thing. I know people personally who one of my kids' close friends, we haven't been able to get in contact with him because his folks were picked up by ICE, you know, a few months back. And now one of his best friends, he can't talk. He doesn't even know where he is. Like, it's crazy. And so now to see, you know, to know the community that we live in, I'm still in the community where I was a pastor. So I know the weak spots of our community and who's going to be affected. And it's really fucked up. Like, it truly is literally playing with people's lives to achieve something that won't be felt by anyone in the lower class or middle class. It'll be only felt by these fucking billionaires, you know?
For sure.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that it takes you feeling it to start caring about it, because other people have been feeling it for a long time. But I do think that's what's happened, is that people are like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we should have cared about it all along.
Well,
Yeah.
what's really disgusting is even now it's being weaponized as a political talking point. Like the pressure that you feel and the pressure that your loved ones feel, and the distress that we're going through, that is being weaponized. It's like, you know what? If the Democrats would do this, all we'd have to do is we'd be out of it.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, dude, can I fucking eat? You promised me. You promised me under this thing that you're gonna take care of this need. Here I am. Do your part. And they're still getting paid. Like, just the nerve, just the disgust. The politicians are still getting paid. We talked about it on last week, and I had to quickly ask ChatGPT for some more news options because I could tell the ones that I pulled weren't
Sucked.
working. and it reminded me of a story that we read last week, or a couple days ago. The night that Snap was shut down, Trump threw a Great Gatsby themed
Oh my God, dude.
party.
That was the most disgusting display. Like when you talk about just rubbing it in people's faces, man.
Like, hey,
Like,
man,
just
what the
if
fuck?
you had a shred of human decency, you would know that's a terrible fucking idea.
That's
and
a
they
bad
were
look.
so proud of it, man. They couldn't wait to show everybody the party they were having. Talk about a let them eat cake moment, man. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it just feels like they think we're so dumb. I mean, it goes back to even like responses he's had about Jeffrey Epstein or about responses he's had. You know what I mean?
we're still talking about
Are
that
we still
guy?
talking about that? Hey, we're building a new ballroom. Did you
Who's
guys know
Jeffrey
that?
Epstein?
Yeah, exactly. Who?
Yeah, well,
That
Obama. What about Sleepy Joe?
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, everything that's happened since then, I have to think is a distraction against the.
Oh,
release
it
of-
feels. I mean, it does. It feels like we're just constantly being fucked with. It's
Right.
crazy.
Right. Like the amount of just the disdain that they have, just the palpable disdain that they have for the American people. If you're not in their club, they don't give a shit about you,
No.
and they don't care if you know it. And they throw parties like that because what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Nothing. You're going to take it because you have to, because of the system that we live in.
So,
Yeah.
Clayton and I were talking about this the other day, and you guys might have some input. Like, you look at this and you're like, well, there's no way that you can do this and expect to be reelected, right? Unless you have somebody like APAC or somebody else that is maybe donating massive amounts of money.
Money printing
Do you,
machines.
do you,
Yeah.
do
Money
you
beats
get the
votes.
impression that, like, because somebody has to look at the optics of that, of having the Great Gatsby theme party in the middle of all of this. Do you think that somebody's pulling the strings, like destabilize, like wanting us to be destabilized, or wanting it, like,
Or are they just that tone deaf?
or do they just not give a shit? Like, because that doesn't compute.
I almost want to think that somebody is pulling the strings, but I don't know if they have the competence to organize something like that. I really do sort of think that they're just failing forward in every imaginable way, because they've not demonstrated competency in one single area. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But it is hard to imagine that they could pull off any type of coordinated anything at this point, because it's just absolute chaos.
Yeah, I think I was in the mindset for a while there that this is all planned. Like this is
Right.
you'd find a document somewhere where this is step 53 of the plan, you know.
Right.
Dude.
But it does feel like they are like at this point it feels like the plan is just working itself in a way because they're so
Right.
in over their heads with all the mess that they've made. Like
It's succeeding in spite of them rather than because of them.
but I do think I mean, my hope is that it is to their demise. You know, that's
I
the
hope so
hope.
too.
The fear is for me, and who knows, but that he finds a way to stay in office, right? Like think
Yeah.
that's a scary one.
So, Mr. Sinfluencer, I have a question. You seem to be a little like enthusiastic when I mention conspiracy theories much earlier. Are you into conspiracy theories
I
at all?
fucking dabble. I dabble in conspiracy theories. I mean, I'm a 45-year-old man. What else am I gonna do?
For sure, dude. It's so great.
Smoke meats, submarine history. Like there's some
Yeah,
options.
dude. Trains.
Submarine.
WW2 history. Yeah, when you hit 50, Joshua, you're going to get a registered letter and you're going to have to choose a path. It's either smoked meats or WW2 history.
Incredible.
But conspiracy theories will always be there. There's always room for conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I got super wrapped up in the whole drone. Like the UAPs over because so I was
in good company
in New Jersey when all that shit was happening. My kid filmed whatever the fuck it was off of one of the bridges right when we got into town.
Oh wow!
And so
did it have red and green lights?
It did not have red and green lights. That was the creepy thing, is that it had like a couple oscillating lights that were all colors. Like, so yeah, so it was a trip, but like, I'll fall down those rabbit holes or just the Antarctica stuff, like I'm not a flat earther, but,
sure.
But I'll dabble.
It's fun to see what they're saying.
It's really fun. It's really fun. But I also think it pairs a lot with like rapture theology in a way. I found myself going like, please come on, UFOs, like aliens, like come fuck things up, like just let's get
I'm ready to give them a chance, honestly. Like what can you guys do down here?
Totally.
Well, make no mistake, if you were to interview, I've heard this from other experts, but if you were to interview the authors of the Deuteronomical texts and the Septuagint and stuff, they believed in a flat earth, homie. Yeah. Like obviously we know Aristotle and everything, we've got past that. But it's not a far stretch from Christianity to flat earth, to the ice wall.
It's a pipeline.
Yeah.
I just want to go on record again as saying that if the rapture happens now, after all these years, now that I'm out, I'm going to be so pissed.
So pissed.
I put so much work inside.
Right. I was so worried about it.
Up until a couple years ago. Like I should at least get something. Like rapture me halfway. Like do something for me.
Give me some gear. Give me a gear drop.
If I just get left out,
give you some sort of a sweet gig as in the tribulation, like
tax collector.
Maybe you get to drive one of the vans or something that
kidnaps the people.
Right.
Josh, so you were you and I are about the same age. Were you? No, I guess not, because you didn't have the background. We were. We watched a movie as kids about the rapture, the Great Tribulation, all that kind of stuff. As little kids, like I think I was maybe 5 or 6. Were you kind of too late? Were you?
What was it called? Do you remember the name?
A Thief in the Night.
A Thief in the Night. Yes. Yeah. So I was not familiar with it growing up, but I have watched it since then. I was on a podcast a couple years ago and we were watching it for that. So
I remember we had
spooky
Friday night family night at the church.
That's right.
That's the movie we watched.
That's fucking crazy. Just kids. You're gonna your family might disappear.
Yeah, so you better get saved.
It was if I remember correctly, and this was probably 40 years ago, so some of the details might have left me. But Justin, tell me what you remember. I remember they had the projector set up like in the auditorium. People had blankets. They had popcorn. Like it was a family movie night, as if you were watching fucking Swiss Family Robinson or one of these Disney movies. And some of those images are burned in my head, like from I remember seeing a little girl in a white gown, like she's carrying a balloon, and she's like, they're leading her up to the guillotine, and you don't see her head come off, but you see a tight shot of that balloon floating up in the air after you hear the whoosh sound effect. And man, that is horrific to expose children.
Oh, totally.
To that. And then to talk out of the other side of your mouth and talk about how horror movies are evil and satanic, and you can't watch, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street because that's not God honoring. but here, let me show you this other thing about,
Right.
the entire, half of the entire world being sent directly to hell, or spending 7 years fighting for their lives in this tribulation period. It's just wild.
So here's I'm gonna throw this out, and then I'm gonna go to you, Clayton. You can have it.
Okay.
A couple months ago, I watched the trilogy again, just to kind of like own my own trauma.
Take that
Go
power
through that.
back.
Watch it as an adult, and I was kind of disheartened to find that. Do you remember the song by Barren Cross, "Thief in the Night"?
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Oh no,
song.
no, it was called "Out of Time." That was the name of that Barren Cross song, wasn't it?
That was the
I
name of the
tried to
album.
warn you, but now you're out of time.
Yeah, that was the name of the album. The song. Anyway, the intro is from that movie.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a second, I know this.
And other Christian rock nerdery here. Hi. You remember Larry Norman's "I Wish We'd All Been Ready" was on that soundtrack as well.
They really screwed that song up.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that song.
Yeah.
So that is part of fear conditioning, which leads me down my conspiracy rabbit hole. I don't know if you're familiar with. There was, like, I'm not going to say the CIA invented Western evangelicalism, but there was a
They might have.
I'll listen to that argument.
They had
I'd entertain it.
In the form of Western evangelicalism that today, it, like, going off of kind of what we were talking about, like something that starts maybe manipulative but spreads on its own, like it just keeps going on its own accord. I would say the church today, the American Protestant church, like especially the non-denominational mega churches, are a product of this guy named Henry Luca. Do you guys know Henry Luca at all?
The name sounds familiar, but go on. Yeah.
Henry Luca is the son of two Presbyterian missionaries, that they were killed in China during the Communist Revolution. His family was a Presbyterian family. They had paper presses. Like, that's where his family comes from money. They were paper presses, but his parents were true believers. They were missionaries, went to China, got killed during the Communist Revolution. He comes back to the United States, starts Life magazine, Time magazine, Fortune magazine. He starts Sports Illustrated. He was the first American multimedia mogul. He had radio and print, which was all there was at the time. Like, he had it on lockdown. He voluntarily had connections. He went to Yale and was friends. He was in the Skull and Bones with Alan Dulles, one of the senior first establishment guys of the CIA. Alan Dulles was in Skull and Bones with this guy, Henry Luca. Henry Luca takes his family printing press business, turns it into this multimedia industry. When the OSS is going on in the Second World War, Henry Luca goes to the OSS, and the OSS became the CIA after World War II. Henry Luca goes to there and says, hey, you guys need excuses to put your agents in Germany and Russia and all over Europe. He was like, I'll give them passes as press agents. They can be reporters. He went to the OSS and volunteered. He gave them these agents covers. He also said, I'm really interested in getting this anti-commie, anti-Christian message out there. You guys work with me, I'll work with you. That established a relationship that later went on, and I've talked about it, Josh, on a side project that I do on this podcast, like a little side thing called Exhibit A. And it's where I talk about conspiracy theories like this, but with receipts. Like, there's CIA.gov documents that outline what I'm talking about. Henry Luca establishes this relationship with the OSS of him providing cover and even resources for the CIA, and the CIA using him to get their anti-commie message out into post-war and even the latter years of World War II. And he says, I want there to also be a very Christian message to this. And they're all about it, because they're helping each other. He's avenging his dead Presbyterian missionary parents, and he's getting out the anti-commie pro-Jesus message. Luca Printing goes on to print all of the redback and the greenback hymnals. All of the Blackwood Brothers was this old gospel band that toured with Elvis back in the day. They were part of RCA Records. That was the legacy of Henry Luca's dynasty.
Wow.
It's kind of what comes first, chicken or the egg. It's impossible for me, and it'd kind of be crazy for me to say that like the Christian Music Awards have a CIA plant inside. But in a very real, very documented way, they had their foundations in CIA propaganda.
Yeah.
In anti-commie, pro-Christian propaganda. So they learned these tricks. Like I talk about it in my thing, but like they were teaching each other psychological warfare.
Wow. Like
the OSS had a whole department fighting the Japs and fighting the Germans, doing it was all psychological warfare. Like that's baked in there.
Wow.
So yeah. Did you know anything about that?
I knew nothing about that, but now I know what I'm going to fill my weekend up with.
Okay.
I think I'm going to butcher her name. Kristen Kobes, the lady who wrote Jesus and John Wayne,
good book.
talked about some of that stuff. I think Clayton. She, I don't know if she mentioned Henry Lucas specifically.
A lot of this stuff is just right out there in history.
Maybe that's where I remember the name from. But she did talk a lot about how Christianity was deeply entwined with the modern conservative movement and American government, particularly, starting in the 60s and 70s and then Jerry Falwell into the 70s and 80s. And
we definitely see it today.
Yeah, for sure.
Peter Thiel is claiming to be an expert on the Antichrist.
Right.
The fuck,
dude?
Yeah,
that's wild, man. I mean, I think what we're seeing, I think we're seeing the seeds that were planted 40 years ago are coming to fruition now, which is terrifying.
And it's just different evolutions. I talk about this in one of the pods, but there was this operation that happened in California, Operation Midnight Climax. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Nope. Sounds hot, though.
It was fucking hot, dude. I'll skip the super long version of it, but there is this guy named George H. White who was running brothels for the CIA that he would get, there was a combination of things he would do. He would get guys who were otherwise not going to commit adultery. He would meet these fellas at the bar, and these would be political operatives. So like maybe back then they were hunting commies, they were hunting other spies, they were hunting journalists, they were hunting American politicians. They wanted to get them in compromising positions, and they wanted to get information out of them. This was in the beginning of the truth serum days, which is where LSD comes from, at least America's introduction of it. George did a lot of nasty things. He was a bad boy, but he ran this brothel in San Francisco that would get these guys. He would dose them with LSD, meet them at a bar, and get information from them, learn their social, learn them whatever. And of course, it wasn't just like that. He would work them. He would work them as sources of information, building them up. One of the things he would do is get them to have sex with these prostitutes. And back then, he was taking pictures of them through one-way glass and using it as blackmail. Like, oh, really? You don't want to support this bill, Mr. Politician? I got this picture. This was a CIA operation. Not against the communists in Europe, not against the Russians, not against the whatever, on American politicians. Operation Midnight Climax.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here for the name.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
I've had a few of those operations in my time.
For sure. That's kind of what I always called them too. Is there something in that vein?
I've never thought about. I'm kind of taken aback by it because I've never actually thought about the conspiracy of evangelicalism in America. And
there's a connection.
That's fascinating.
Have you read that book, Jesus and John Wayne?
Yeah, I did. I read it a while ago. I don't retain information from book reading. It's like it's so it's a thing. It's
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 overrated.
one of the things that kept me feeling so dumb inside the church because I didn't know I had dyslexia.
Yeah.
And so I was often being told by people like you would be better like if it's a sin issue in your life. It's got to
Oh
be.
yeah.
You know, this has got to be a sin issue in your life that you can't retain the scripture. You can't, you know, it's like, you motherfuckers.
How can you hide God's word in your heart if you can't remember it?
Exactly.
Boy, it's deep.
I'm a fan of the audio book is just as good. That's what I actually, I say I read books.
Same.
I don't. I listen to them on audiobook.
You're consuming the information.
Yeah. That book was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
To realize the connection. I just thought we were super patriotic.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was that our religion and politics were the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're inseparable.
And they're both an illusion of choice. Like there's not actually a choice in either one of them.
Right.
You know, it's interesting you say that. That's some president I kind of fell asleep to talking about last night is that it just does feel like our choices have gotten smaller. Like I go to the store, there's less options and they're all made by the same company. Like it just feels like life has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. In fact, I was listening to this guy talk about Google and how Google used to be really, really good. Like there was a time where Google's system was flawless, but then they became a monopoly. And because of that, they had to sacrifice some things. And now we're seeing double the ads on Google. And it's taking us 3 searches to actually get the result we want, you know? So they're making everything smaller and worse. And when I say they, I don't even know who I'm fucking talking about. Same they that started evangelicalism in America.
Yeah.
The eventual enshittification of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great place.
Right.
Well, hey, we're just over 2 hours, I think, of recording. Mr. Joshua, Mr. Sinfluencer, you always have an open invitation back to Lawless and Garbage Boys, my friend. Anytime you'd like to chop it up, come on here and just chill with some deconstructed Midwesterner boys.
Honestly, it is, as we were talking earlier in the show, the importance of community. For me, because I do social media, like I don't get to choose like the demographic that reaches out to me in a lot of ways, you know? And so like, all I'm saying, this felt like home in a lot of ways. It felt like hanging with a bunch of like homies, you know? So thank you. Like truly.
Amen.
It was good. Good for my soul.
Good.
Like the Lord really blessed me.
I really wanted to open up with "How's your walk," but I just didn't have the.
I just forgot, dude. I was going to say the same thing. I just forgot.
How's your walk?
How's your walk?
That's right. We did a podcast and that's how we would open it. Was how's your walk? Yeah, it's so funny.
Travis, do you remember that guy? I'm not going to say his name. That he would always shake, because we would shake hands, you know, sing the first song, then we'd shake hands, whatever.
Yeah.
And he would grab your hand and ask, "How's your soul?" and like squeeze it down. Do you remember that? How's your soul?
Well,
I don't know what.
Check that guy's browser.
Yeah,
sure.
I have some idea, Justin, but I also won't say his name because I may not be right. Joshua, anything you want to plug? Any websites?
Where can we find you?
Yeah, where can we find you? Your business? How can we tell people about you?
Yeah, this is the area that we suck the most in. Is that we do a lot of things, we just don't communicate it well. Yeah. So my main account is the original Sinfluencer account. And then we also have the @Presmoy Music, which is my wife's account, and so we each have kind of our separate accounts that we are the face of, and then but both of us are kind of pouring into behind the scenes and stuff. So there's that, and then there's my Joshua Colburn Music. I have yet to figure out how to combine all this shit.
Well, all of the links I think those are all in the media package that you sent me. I'm gonna put those in the description of this, and I'm gonna, point as much information on all platforms as I can to point toward you and your stuff.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I do have a song coming out in the next month or so. If you are someone who's deconstructing and looking for like a good Christmas, like deconstructed song, we recorded a couple, a few years ago. One's called Wasted on You, the idea that,
Yeah, I
I'm
love
not
that
going to
song.
waste Christmas on you. And then one
Yeah.
called Christmas in the Graveyard, which Christmas is in Graveyard is one of my favorite songs we've written because it's just so like bitchy. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's connecting with other people, but it's like, it's talking about, your Aunt Gloria who's clutching her pearls, but then she's face down fucking drunk, by
Oh,
the
yeah.
by the nativity scene on the lawn.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but yeah, a lot of music. If you want to check us out there, you want to reach out and say hi. I'm the type of guy that gives his phone number out on the internet. I probably should stop doing that.
That's perfect. Well, it's funny because I'm just starting to reach out to folks for interviews on social media, and like in this sphere, we're just starting to really branch out. And it was perfect for me to reach out to you because I'll reach out to anyone. It's a matter of fact of if they return the call is the thing.
Right.
And pretty much immediately, I mean, I didn't start off by saying, "Hey, will you want to come on the pod?" Just organically, like, "Hey, I like your stuff, man." And it was like a heart, a thumbs up, and stuff. Just establish an open line of communication.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I really do. Sometimes where I fail at this is like I probably have 10 people's like 10 text threads going, and I'm so bad with my ADHD that I never put someone's fucking name with their number. And so I literally for the last year have been texting a couple people and I don't know who they are. But we talk about deconstruction all the time.
Clayton, I think Joshua has the distinction of being the first interview on this show that's not a personal relationship with somebody already.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
No, we have a
Definitely.
personal. He made me send him foot pics to be here.
Yeah, but that's not personal. That's
the
normal.
We'll edit that part out.
That's just transactional for Clayton. That's just how he does business.
And he's
Well,
like, I'll have you on the podcast. You just got to send your feet. I'm like,
Yeah.
Ask grass, cash, or feet.
Nobody rides for free. Nobody pods for free.
Next time we need to have your wife on. I'd
yeah,
love to get
absolutely.
the-
I would
I'd love to
highly
get her
recommend,
Yeah.
both of us or just her
Yeah.
on her own. She's incredible and dynamic as well.
And not to put you guys on the spot, because I know you probably like want to make sure it would sound sonically good, but if you guys would be down to like play a song or something, that would be super sick.
Oh, 1,000%. We'll lead you all in worship.
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, lead us to the throne.
Yeah, no, we've done that quite a bit. We've done a lot of music on podcasts and stuff. We have the setup for it. So
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, this was super
Well-
fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
thanks for having me. Truly, I really appreciate it. I always feel like, what the fuck do I have to offer? So thank you. I really.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So
I'm
much.
gonna go cry to Prodigal Son. So
Yeah.
that's where I'll be.
That
I'm gonna go smoke a bowl
It
and
really
listen to it on
means
the
so
back
much that
porch.
people listen to these songs. It's fucking incredible. So thank
For
you.
sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
we're
Can't
gonna
wait to hear
smoke a
more.
little.
All right. All the links are going to be in the description. Check out Joshua, aka Original Sinfluencer, and everything they have. Check out Lawless and Garbage Boys. Like, heart, subscribe. This has been another very super duper special of Lawless Garbage Boys. See you guys later.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.